Prepare to embark on an awe-inspiring odyssey through the annals of human history, where the threads of belief, legend, and divinity intertwine across epochs and civilizations. In a tapestry that spans from Mesopotamia's ancient depths to the Exodus of Israel, we uncover the astonishing parallels between Enlil, the son of Anu, and Jehovah, God of Moses. Join us as we unravel a revelation that shatters the boundaries of faith and history, bridging the gap between gods and mortals. Enlil and Jehovah. The definition Eloh, lofty one, is derived from the Akkadian term Ilu, which is another name for Anu's son Enlil. It was the long-standing Eloh tradition of Enlil the El Elyon that Abraham and some of his family forebears transported into Canaan, having made their respective journeys from the cities of Mesopotamia. Then, 5 generations after Abraham, Jehovah, I am that I am, emerged as the God of Moses and the children of Israel when they returned to Canaan from Egypt. The book of Exodus further explains how God told Moses that he was the same God who spoke with Abraham, except that Abraham had called him El Shaddai, El of the mountain, because he did not know the divine name Jehovah. The Jehovah of the Jews, El Elyon of the Canaanites, was synonymous with Enlil of the Anunnaki, son of the great Anu. In the Mesopotamian tradition, Enlil was referred to as Elu Kurgal, meaning the great mountain lord, is why Abraham addressed him by the equivalent of that name. Likely, the definition of Kurgal, great mountain, was linguistically related to the great burial mounds of the Kurgans, who emerged from the Russian steppe lands and swept through Europe in waves from about 4400 BC. The Kurgan people, whose name means barrow or tumulus, have been largely credited with the widespread introduction of the domesticated horse and disc-wheeled transport. In the early tradition, Jehovah, just like Enlil the El Elyon, had a wife and family. Still, the essential difference between the Enlil and Jehovah's portrayals was that Enlil was seen to have identifiable parents and grandparents, as detailed in the Enuma Elish and other ancient documents. Another critical difference between the Bible's portrayal of Jehovah and the Sumerian portrayal of his peers and prototypes was that the Anunnaki were not immortal. No records so far relate to their natural deaths, but numerous accounts refer to their individual deaths through war and violence. The deaths of Apsu, Tiamat, Mumu, and Demuzi are all detailed. Still, in striking contrast, the Bible's Jehovah is said to be from everlasting to everlasting. Heaven and earth will perish, but he will endure as his years will have no end. Given that the term Jehovah superseded the name Enlil the El Elyon, and since Enlil was the great-grandson of Apsu and Tiamat, there is a paradox here to be examined. The written and pictorial evidence shows that the Sumerians strongly believed in the existence of the Anunnaki, including figures like Enki, Enlil, Ninkursag, and Inanna, who had specific roles within their community. They were respected as patrons, teachers, justices, and technologists, and even helped shape who became king. While they were revered as powerful beings, they were not worshipped like later cultures worshipped their gods through rituals. The original word that eventually came to mean worship was avad, which simply meant work. Although the presence of the Anunnaki may perplex historians, their language may confuse linguists, and their advanced techniques may bewilder scientists, it is unwise to dismiss them. The Sumerians have provided clear information on who the Anunnaki were, and neither history nor science can refute that. Between 1906 and 1923, several eminent Sumerologists translated and published the contents of ancient texts and fragments concerning the early kings of Sumer. In the late 1920s and the 1930s, a good deal of further information was unearthed in this regard. And in 1939, Professor Thorkild Jacobson of the Oriental Institute collated the various texts for publication by the University of Chicago. He modestly referred to his fantastic work as a short essay comprising more than 200 pages of highly detailed translation, transcription, and commentary. In his introduction to the work, Jacobson made the point that since the information recorded by the ancient Sumerians did not conform with the ideals of some of his fellow academics, they treated it with skepticism. Despite the considerable efforts of high-ranking scholars to translate and compile the Sumerian king list, it was largely ignored by traditional historians and theologians. Why? Because it was not in line with biblical scripture. It was not in keeping with the books these so-called experts had themselves written. Almost in desperation, in his attempt to break through the dogmatic barriers of the Western teaching establishments, Jacobson stated that in later years the king list has come almost to a standstill, and its evidence is hardly ever used for purposes of chronology. It is our hope that this essay will contribute to bringing the study of the king list out of the dead water in which it now lies. This was written in 1939, 84 years ago, and yet how many of today's school children are taught anything from these original texts of record? They learn about the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, and of course the Bible. Still, they are told little or nothing about the oldest of all civilizations because the Sumerian writings pose such a threat to the cultish dogma of our modern religions. These days, pioneers of chronological reevaluation still suffer the recriminations of a hierarchical establishment that refuses to budge from its self-styled comfort zone. Prominent among the tenacious pioneers is the Egyptologist David M. Rohl. In his writings, as in his compelling television series Pharaohs and Kings, he makes the very valid point that the conventional chronology applied to the Egyptian dynasts in our history books was compiled not from Egyptian dates, but from the standard dating structure applied to the Old Testament. Archbishop Usher of Armagh published his biblical chronology in 1650, and the Egypt Exploration Fund was established in Victorian times with the express directive that archaeologists should seek to uphold the Old Testament tradition as dictated by the Christian Church. As we partake in this epic voyage through time, remember that the past's enigmatic whispers beckon us to delve deeper into the mysteries that have long eluded our grasp. The story of the Anunnaki, the Sumerian kings, and their cosmic connections continues to challenge the narratives we hold dear. In the ever-evolving tapestry of our shared history, these revelations remind us that the journey of discovery is an endless quest. Stay curious, keep seeking, and let the echoes of antiquity guide us toward the uncovered truths. Remember to like, share, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until our next exploration of the unknown.